Okay, good morning, everyone. First of all, thank you very much for your time, for attending this. I can see a lot of staff has joined as well. Obviously, this event was obviously is directed towards students, and the reason I'm going to give you a little bit of background of it and the context of this event, that how this event was actually required in terms of so many feedbacks we have received. So we were thinking, obviously, we'll look into it. So from the employability, obviously, and the placement department, we thought, um, although we provide so many supports, like ACE does a wonderful job. We also do like student support services also does a fantastic job as well. And obviously, module leaders, AL leads, they're also doing their own end as well for different modules through scheme of work, through activities. So that's wonderful. But obviously, we thought to bring something as a brief activity, as a brief workshop. So at least we can come to know. And the reason the background was because I've attended recently some conferences, and I've also gone into some kind of discussions with some employers as well. So that was a good point of context. So I think these are three current meetings I've attended in different conferences, and one was recently with companies like, for example, KPMG, PwC, for example. Two of the care homes mentors I've also met. The reason actually I was visiting for last few months just to try to understand that what areas we can also focus more to our students, so we can achieve a better graduate outcome at the end, and there are certain things we can focus through our activities. So that's why I thought just to bring into the attention of this thing, which is quite key, and it's a common comment and feedback coming from different companies. Even this is also coming from those where our students have done the placements already for level 4 and level 5. So this was a common point. So I thought we'll put it in an event for 30 minutes and then we'll discuss. So obviously you can see the title is called business writing. Now, this is something we really need to bring attention to you guys as a student. I'm talking Becky. Thank you very much for joining as well from the class. So my point to the students, obviously, this one, like I said, this event is very much directly to the students. You do a lot of learning, right? Different modules, you're learning a lot. There are some non-credited modules as well where you develop your skills. But one thing which is very important for all of you to understand is your writing skills. Because once you do your degree, once you complete your qualification, you're going to apply for jobs. Then obviously you need to prepare your instruments like CV, obviously cover letter. That are very basic instruments. But just imagine once you secure the job and you're already on the job, then your reputation is very, very important. Your skills are very important. And I think that would be the right time. A lot of people, they get the job because you put a lot of effort to gain the job, right? But once you gain the job, the difficult and the challenging part is to sustain, to retain actually, because you are new to that organization. They don't know much about you because that's the only interview process you've gone through. So they expect something from you because you are a graduate. You've done a degree program. So they expect you to be on the certain level. Yes, they will train you. They'll provide you some trainings for the system they will be using. That's not a problem. But there are certain basic things which I am sure they're expecting from you that you should be knowing it once you're on the job. And that's what the whole idea for this is today. Obviously, when I was talking to our internal department, we said we will be doing three different workshops on this, on the business writing. This is the first one we are doing today. Today, our focus will be on the business emails. It means when you are already working, or if you're trying to work for any organization and you're drafting emails. That's a very important stage because um, in my recent meetings, which we have the data as well, 73% employers which I met, they actually mentioned that Usmani, a lot of students who graduate and when they come as a fresh graduate to our jobs, they struggle on these areas that they're drafting an email, for example, to sending to another department, they're drafting an email to a colleague. So the email draft does not look really like clear, not concise. There's few things are missing. So that's why I set up this kind of content as well on this research writing. The slides will be available to you once we finish the event. We will make it available on the Moodle as well for you guys, so you can look into it, and that would help. So let's go into the slide bit more, and then we'll see what exactly we're trying to achieve. You can see on the slide, obviously, the main thing which you need to keep in mind. The first thing is the clear purpose. It means when you're writing business writing, for example, when you're writing an email, when you join the job. I think your purpose should be clear. You should be very clear why are you writing this email? Why are you exactly writing? What exactly is the main context behind it? Similarly, organization, it means your content, the information you're putting it should be organized. Like you should start with a very basic point, a welcoming kind of body language you need to reflect when you're writing. For example, if you're writing an email to your team leader and you joined recently as a job and you're writing like this, hey, how are you? Obviously, in a day-to-day routine, you can say that because it's a bit informal way, but in the formal setting, that would not be acceptable because they will give a little bit of reflection that I think you're a bit informal or you're not understanding the significance of that company. Because one thing you need to understand, it depends what company you work. For example, if you're working in a very high profile organization, for example, if you're joining KPMG and your writing is not formal, then it cannot help you towards progression of you, that. Because these companies have got very clear KPIs, if you know that, key performance indicators, because they have certain criterias, so they judge you on certain measures, so they maintain it. So for example, after 2 months, if you ask them how is my performance, they can give you a full report on that because they have the systems in place. So this is very important. You need to organize yourself. Grammar, very important. I think we also train you during your assignment writing. If you remember, when we give you guidelines as tutors in the classroom, we keenly, we keen and we clearly focus on you that please make sure your grammar is correct. Yes, maybe first language is not English, we understand, but remember we are in England, so we need to look into that context more precisely and more focusedly as well. And then there are, for example, some of you use Grammarly, for example, that can help you. And there are some other trainings you can attend that can help you as well in terms of improvement. Vocabulary, very important. I think if you remember on your inductions, we also highlight, some of you have done the induction as well as a part of the team. Leo does a lot of this as well. I really appreciate his effort on this as well. And obviously, the ACE team, like Valentina, for example, I've seen Maria, and I think all of the team, even as the social care team, Sir Rume, and mentors as well, like they've highlighted these things so many times that you need to make sure you enhance your vocabulary. So we should use some dictionary. You should have a habit of doing it, because if we keep, for example, if you're writing a longer email and you're repeating the words, so that will leave a different impression actually. And that's what is very important. You should have enough vocabulary that you can use it on a different time. Structuring of the sentence, how you structure your email, that's very, very important. I think we've got a lot of staff members have joined us, and I'm very happy that here, for example, Leo is also here. He's very good in English writing as well. He can also comment at some point how important it is, the structure of the sentence, and how do you think it has an impact. Like so many times you write a sentence, but the way you write, you can get a quicker response. You can get a response in a very different way. So this is one something you need to consider as well. Paragraph structure, paragraph transitions. I think that's more important. When you go from one, for example, you're writing an email to your manager, or even if you're a manager, you're writing to another manager of a different company like B2B, you should be very clear. Your first paragraph is talking about something, then you're transitioning, you are going to another paragraph, it should have a connection, or it should have a link, because the link should not be broken. Because if you're not connecting it, what will happen, the impression will go to the other party that you're not clear. So if you're not clear, how can you get a clear response? So this is very important, we need to consider. And obviously referencing means at some point you can also use it as well. So this is very important, guys, to consider as well. Now, before obviously we go into it, obviously you can see here, good writing is always very important to make your presence effective. Remember, when you're writing an email, you're physically not there, because your impression is there, isn't it? The way you are trying to express is there. So it's very important the way you write, because this will leave you in a position then where the respondent can take you in a different way. What kind of writing skills you need to do in your workplace? I think this is the kind of question we will give you a chance, obviously, at some point as a self-reflection, because all of you will be working in a different, I'm sure you all have some dream jobs in your mind. That's brilliant. But remember, to achieve a dream job, you should have some clear pathways, isn't it? and we call it as a career paths. It means there are some dimensions you need to set. For example, if some of you wants to achieve, I want to be a marketing executive once I've completed my degree. You can achieve it, but you need to set some goals, right? You need to set some paths. So this is a similar thing. We need to look into it, and then we'll see how it goes as well. Some examples you can see here. Obviously, like I said, our focus will be more towards emails today. But remember, memos, reports are also something which comes under business writing. But obviously, we're not going to cover those two today. Our department will be informing you upcoming events as well for this. But today, the focus is in the email. Let's look at some points. Obviously, the email, because business emails use every day. Remember, you use every day. It's a routine. I don't know if anyone can comment how many emails we receive every day. Like maybe mentors, I can see in the camera how many emails are coming. Obviously, it's an internal communication, but I think it's very important how we organize that, because, and we have to respond as well, isn't it? Every email we have to respond. So it's a day-to-day routine, exactly, guys. So it's instant, obviously, obviously, and effective. There's this typo I can see as well. So sorry for this, but I think instant and obviously the effectiveness is very, very important. There's no geographical boundaries. When you are in the company, you're working in a position, maybe the email comes from US, maybe it's coming from Middle East, one of your client is sending an email and you are responsible to respond, for example. So this is very important. So there's no geographical locations. You need to consider all these aspects as well when you are talking about the business emails. This is a big question to all of you. Have you ever written a business email? If yes, obviously your experience will be shared. If not, then I think you just need to start looking into it, that what exactly it looks like, what makes a good business emails, and what things you need to consider. Obviously now, because of the time, obviously we're keeping it a bit shorter workshop. There are do's and don'ts, obviously, like something you should do, something you should avoid. And that would really help you in terms of business emails. So let's have a look, some of them. You see, in do's, like use a proper greeting such as dear. Now, this is important, isn't it? Because it's a formal way of writing. For example, if you're writing an email, you say, hello, Peter, or hello, John, for example. Okay. But if you say dear, for example, these are the do's you need to consider it when you're writing. For example, you're writing to a team member. I know sometimes what happens, for example, if I'm dropping an email to Manthan because he works in my department. So I send an email, he responded. I responded again. So what happens when there's a frequent exchange of email, we try to forget, this kind of thing. Dear. So we go very informal. And I think that's something you need to consider as well. We need to consider. Similar way, person's title like Mrs., Miss, Professor, Doctor are very, very important. I'm sure if you're a doctor and I'm writing Mr., everyone is different. They can also, like I have seen it, to be very honest, in my practice. Sometimes I'm not aware and I've written Mr. and the person responded, Swani, can you write doctor please next time? So this is something very important, because you know why it is important? Because if someone is a doctor, it's a lot of effort behind it, isn't it? To be a doctor. So they want a recognition. And that's what we really need to understand that as well. So that's why we need to keep ourselves very up to date. The best practice is, if you don't know whether it's Mr. or Doctor, when you receive an email from them, you will see that, at the bottom of the email, you will see that information. You can pick up from there. And then you need to respond while writing and addressing that way as well. Obviously, Mrs. and MS is another thing. Sometime, we can miss it, actually, to be very honest. Obviously, you can't ask someone, are you married or not? Then I can write an email to you. You need to make obviously on that as well. So if you're not sure, if you're in doubt, obviously you can use the MS as well. So this is very, very important. Use the person's name, very important. Remember, sir, madam. Okay, good. For example, if I'm coming, like I came from a background, for example, the country originally, where we always say sir, because it's a culture, isn't it? But we are in England, we need to consider those things as well, that not everyone is sir here. So because remember, sir is a title. So that's why we need to be very clear, mostly use a pronoun, person's name. If obviously as an unknown, then you can say to whom it may concern, or you can say dear sir and madam as well in that way. Use a proper closing such as best wishes, kind regards. yours sincerely, yours faithfully. These are endings as well. Um, because just my one question before we move on, quick question to you. Do you think the starting of a business email and the ending, how important it is? Anyone wants to comment on it, please? Yes, mentors, please. Thank you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Just a comment about yours sincerely and yours faithfully from my previous business administration training. If you are writing a letter, if you know the person's name, okay, you can end by saying yours sincerely. If you don't, if you say dear sir, madam, of course you have to say yours faithfully. Just to contribute. Thank you.
Thank you, mentors. I can see you're very proactive because next slide was for that. So this is good. Thank you very much for your input. Anyway, I think this is very important. That's what the idea is. We are addressing to student mentors. So I wanted like most of us to get involved, and obviously we can comment on this as well. So this is like mentors was talking about. If obviously if you address the person by name, for example, dear Mrs. Gibson, then you use sincerely, obviously. And these are the rules, the kind of thing. You address the person with your dear madam, then you use faithfully. You know, these are the few basics of writing email that may help you into that as well.
I didn't see your slide anyway. I'm just commented.
Yes. No, that's perfectly fine. Thank you very much for this. So obviously, guys, there are so many other do's. Obviously, because of time, we can't go everything. But like I said, it will be available to you to look into that as well. For example, you need to follow the cultural protocol because sometimes when you're working in a company, you need to consider that as well. You know how it's working in that organization. You need to be very courteous as well. Your subject line. That's what I really want to focus now. Maybe Leonardo has raised a hand. Leonardo, please, you want to input before we go? Thank you.
Thank you, Faisal. It's just one comment because in the previous slide before the difference between sincerely and faithfully, you mentioned to whom it may concern is just to remind that whenever you use that, you don't need any closing. You just sign your name, right? You because you're not addressing anyone by the name or sir, madam. So you don't use either one.
Perfect. Thank you, Leo. Thank you thank you for that. So thank you, guys. So this is you. So this is very obviously Leo has worked very closely on this side as well, so he knows. And this is very important that and I think that's the idea of Leo behind this, that we're trying to bring a small kind of a understanding to our student that although they are doing this assignment, they're doing so many assessment, there is just something else they need to learn, because remember the graduate outcome and you know the jobs, the company, then obviously they were focusing. So I thought I'll highlight it. Thank you very much for this. Similar way, guys, you know, the subject lines, I think is inbox. We receive so many emails every day, you know, there's so many emails coming. So subject line, if it's not written, how the respondent can get an idea that what exactly is happening. So this is very important when you're writing an email, your subject line should be very clear as well. Obviously, the formal way of writing, spelling, correct grammar, these all things you need to be considered as well. This is another thing very important, guys. When you do CC and BCC in the email, don't just CC to everyone, because you need to CC to the relevant, isn't it, to the team members. So this is very important because sometimes we don't realize, and then obviously we just CC the, and you know, BCC people who will remain anonymous. Obviously, that's a bit because it's a blank carbon copy. You know, we need to follow that. So we need to be very clear, concise. If do not write so much detail email, like I've seen sometimes, you know, the pages. If you write a brief context, then you attach it. If something, you know, the detailed information you want to provide, obviously you can put it as an attachment rather than writing email. Because what happens if I'm checking the email, for example, and I'm looking into it, so maybe because I have a limited time, I need to give time to other things as well. So I can quickly have a look the context what you're trying to say. If I think it's very much response required now, then obviously I can look into the attachment straight away. Or maybe I can put into my priority list and, you know, to-do list, and I can come back and look into it. So that's, I think we should give an opportunity to the others as well, you know, to look into it. Plain and easy, obviously read text, make it bullet point, depend if you want to address certain things in an organized way, bullet point, obviously. If there's an attachment, please mention it. Don't just attach and you expect that people will see the attachment. We need to mention it. Please see attached, for example. So this is something we are informing them. And I think I've seen in my practice as well, sometimes it happens. Like seeing the email but attachment is missed because, maybe we're all human, we, sometimes get missed as well. Obviously with the name and of the company name or all the details will be provided at the end as well. And again, these are the DOS. Now there's some DON'ts, you like leave a subject line blank, for example. Like you send an email and you didn't put the subject line. So these are the things you need to avoid, like hey, like informal way of doing it. Some abbreviations you're using, maybe abbreviations are, for example, you're sending an email to another company. You use that abbreviation, that. Maybe that other party, other person, other side doesn't know the meaning of this abbreviation unless you put abbreviation and you give the detailed meaning or the meaning of that abbreviation separately in your email. That's a different thing. But you should consider all these things. Obviously, certain jokes and all these cultural things as well. Avoid necessary, unnecessary. It happened with me last year, like reply to all, like so many times I was getting, because obviously in the placement department we work, so we see, and then it becomes so much loaded now. So this is very important as well. We need to consider as well. Obviously, there are so many other slides. Like I said, you can look into it when we'll make it possible as well. For example, like you can see here, it's an interesting part, like, for example, using your email address like this, for example, interesting email addresses sometime we're mentioning it. So I think we need to show a little bit of professionalism as well. Like emotions, emojis we are using. I know when we use Microsoft Teams, we have a lot of options we use, but I think we need to be careful when we use it, which setting we are in, which email we are sending. So these are the few things we need to consider as well. Now, on the final note of this workshop, we have a video. I'll try to play this video for 5 minutes because this video is a bit longer, like 13 minutes. But like I said, this will be available to you on the Moodle. I would request you, please watch it in your free time. But I'll quickly play this for a few minutes and let's see what exactly this gentleman is talking about. And I think that can help. Is it okay? And then if you can please tell me whether sound is coming, then I think, please.
Yeah.
Hi, everyone. This is David, and welcome
Yeah, we can hear
10 Email Hacks. Let's start with something you already know all too well. You've got mail. As a matter of fact, you've probably got way too much mail. You probably feel like you're drowning in it, the lifeblood of each day slipping away as you face the constant influx of emails. According to a report from the Radicati Group in 2017, the typical worker sent and received about 120 business emails per day. Keep in mind, that doesn't include personal emails. Combining the two almost doubles the total to 225. And this is an average. Your number could be higher. The cost? In 2013, Mashable estimated that, on average, email takes up 28% of a worker's day. 28%. According to the McKinsey Global Institute, that 28% makes email, quote, the most time-consuming work activity that today's worker engages in. No wonder many analysts call today's email overload a global epidemic. Putting dollar signs on this epidemic can really make you sick. Tom Cochran, writing for the Harvard Business Review, did just that for his mid-sized company. Cochran calculated average typing speed, reading speed, response rate, volume of email, average salary, and total employees. The bottom line, each email in his company costs 95 cents, with a yearly expenditure of over $1 million due to email pollution. Need some help? No problem. Since email is the primary communication medium in the work world, surely your undergraduate degree prepared you for it. Let's count the number of courses where you studied email, the form of writing that you'll spend almost 1/3 of your day doing. Drum roll, please. And the number is, oh, I'm sorry. But look at it this way. You have strong motivation for this presentation. Top 10 email hacks. They can make your life and your job a lot easier. And you don't need an alert email to tell you that. Let's start with the number one complaint about emails, and therefore the number one way to improve them. Write clear, detailed subject lines. Subject lines tell us if and when we need to read an email. Vague subject lines waste time. They force you to open the email in order to find out its importance. Here are 3 rules for subject lines. They should clearly indicate subject matter, purpose, action to be taken, if applicable. Let's look at an example. Note the progression from a 2-word phrase that vaguely indicates subject matter, staff meeting, to the middle column that adds date and time and the type of staff meeting biweekly. And finally, to the last subject line, which adds purpose, biweekly staff meeting for updates, December 12, etc. With the last subject line, the receiver knows exactly what's in the email, its purpose, and what action is needed and when it is needed. That's a good subject line. Let's look at another example. We go from sick leave policies, a vague indication of subject matter, to a clear definition of subject matter and purpose, review and approval of proposed sick leave policies. In the subject line on the far right, we learn the action required of the recipient and when it is due. Need your review and approval by end of day. Once you see the difference between a bad subject line and a good one, how can you ever go back? So let's go on to hack number 2. Stop writing and start outlining to improve skim value. The second most common complaint about emails is that they're hard to read, with the real content buried in a tossed salad of words. The fix is simple. Reduce the number of paragraphs you use. When you do use a paragraph, keep it to 1 to 3 lines. But most important, use list and an outline format as much as possible. They will automatically reduce the number of paragraphs. Let's look at this example. Hi, Tom. How are you? I hope you had a great weekend. Customarily, I wouldn't involve you in such matters, but I thought I'd give you a bit of background information on a report I'm working on. It's all about the future direction of the company and how we can circumvent our main competitor. I would like to know our annual turnover at the moment. It would also help if I knew what our projected annual turnover for the next 3 years might be, if you would. And if you know what percentage of our annual turnover is contributed by our leading product, that would be super helpful. I'd really like to incorporate these financial facts and figures into the report, and I look forward to your input. Best, Keisha. Did you have the same urge as me while reading this? To cry out, please, just tell me what you want. Now, let's take a look at the same request written in a way that saves time, money, and aggravation because it uses list and outlining. Hi, Tom. I need some financial data for a report I'm working on. Specifically, I need to know. And there they are, 1, 2, and 3. Could you please email me the answers to these questions by the end of the week? Thanks, Keisha. Now note how the outline format makes the email skimmable. Tom doesn't have to dig in to find out what's requested. He can quickly skim the email and know what Keisha wants in less than half the time. Thank you. Hack number 3. Specify the desired reader response. How many times have you read an email and, at the end, still not know what the sender wanted? Specifying the desired reader response begins in the subject line, as we've seen. Request for 3 items of financial info from you. Also notice how the desired reader response is reinforced several times in the body of the email with the lines, specifically, I need to know, and could you please email the answers to these questions by to take action to multiple recipients, make it clear who is responsible for what by listing each name with the action item next to it. And 3, always provide a specific deadline. Okay, hack number 4, avoid socializing. In the workplace, emails are designed to be a quick, direct form of communication. Unless you know for sure that socializing in a business email is appropriate and desired, leave it out. For the vast majority, I assure you, you will not be considered rude if you get to the point quickly and politely. So that.
Okay, guys. Obviously, I'll hold the video here because it's longer. Like I said, we'll play for 5 minutes, but like I said, it will be available to you. You can still look into it, and obviously, but now obviously this is almost the ending of this. But I think we can see here Mentis has raised the hand. Mentis, you want to? Or sorry, Manthan, I think is it?
Yeah. I think. Thank you, Usmani. Just to say, if you could give one or two question chance for the students, that will be great. Otherwise, I will be going very soon.
Yeah, no, that's what we are doing now because I was just playing it, and there are some questions obviously on the screen as well. I'm gonna keep it, but yes, guys. So this was, I think, just a briefing about this business writing. Any student have got any questions, any comments, please you can mention. But like I said, there is a detailed version of it. This video is more detailed there, and obviously some other information will be provided, so you can have a look as well. Please. Yes, Manthan, I think you raised the hand.
Yeah, hello, sir. I just wanted to send out a link for the event so they can students and staff members can give the feedback.
Yes.
Just
Of
check your
course, at
chat
the end.
box, and I'm
Yes.
sharing my screen as well. So if you can directly just see on the screen. Oh, sorry.
Sure. But Manthan, before we do that, Henrietta, you are with the student. Becky, you're also there. Sharia, you're also there. If we take a little bit of a view from the student, please, that how do you think this can be helpful for them?
Sorry, can you come again with a question?
Henrietta, how do you think students feel about this topic? Do you think the student feel it's very useful? It can help.
It is useful.
Uh,
It's very useful. Yeah, they say it's useful.
Okay. And we can see the Birmingham has also joined. Hafiza is also there in the class. Hafiza, how do you think the students are feeling? Like, do you think this business writing skills can be very useful for them?
Very important for us. Good.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes. Yes. The students thinks that it's been helpful for them.
Very
Okay.
helpful. Thank you very much.
Okay. No, you're most welcome. Like I said, this is obviously as a starting point, and obviously you can have a look into this video more detail, and obviously the slide we will also provide you. But before we finish, I think Leo, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yeah, Leo, you have got. Sorry, can you hear me now?
I can hear you. Yes, clearly.
Leo, you have just to bring, if you don't mind, because you've got a lot of experience working for obviously with different settings. How do you think the business writing skill is important for our students? Do you think?
It's absolutely important because, unfortunately or fortunately, we are measured by these parameters that we present at the workplace, and the quality of your writing, of your conciseness, or of the clarity of the information that you provide, particularly in emails that, as the presentation says, it takes up a big part of our day. So we're nowadays exchanging or communicating more often via email, right? Because it's convenient, and of course it is a document. So that's another thing that everyone must have in mind when writing them. So that's why we need to be extra careful, because once written and sent, it's there. You cannot, well, there are ways of retrieving it, but most of the times it becomes a permanent record of the communication.
Thank you, Leo. And Leo, do you think, like, obviously because we have the students now, and at some point they will be graduating, and even not graduating, like before that as well, if you on they're doing already jobs, actually we have got mature learners. Do you think if they focus on this writing skill and improve it, it can help to have a better career and progression as well, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Because very often, you mentioned also in the presentation that it's not only emails, it's the memos and the reports you need to write, and that will demonstrate how much fluent you are in these activities, in these tools.
Okay. Thank you, Leo. Thank you very much for that, for your input. Toyin, you want to also say a few things about this, please? We can see your hand is raised. Yes.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Usmani, for this workshop. I think it's very important. I think it's very essential for our students to actually have the business writing skills. And I was just wondering whether it's possible to incorporate it into the professional development program, the PDP that we do, especially because most universities in the UK, they carry out English for academic purpose, which is where they teach something like this. But as we're not doing that within the university, I just felt it should be incorporated in some of the modules so that it can benefit our students more. Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Twain. It's a very good point. I'll make a note of it. Definitely when we will be reviewing it, and we will be bringing into this activity. Thank you so much for this. Yes, anyone else want to say anything? We have Mr. Ahmed has also joined us in this event. Sir, you want to say a few things? How do you think this business writing skill can help? Or anyone else maybe want to say a few things? Aruj, you are also here from Birmingham. So
I think it's been very beneficial to have this event, and I think we might need to continuously have these kind of events to emphasize this to students, because we deal with placement inquiries and we get emails sometimes that can cause significant delays to getting queries handled because it's missing information, student ID numbers, etc. So I think regularly reminders with such events would be very beneficial as well for students.
thank you, Aruj. Thank you. Leo, sorry, I've seen your hand. I think you've raised the hand again.
Yes, thank you, Zwani. In the same note as Toyins, I just a suggestion, maybe these EAP or English for Academic Purpose courses, something like this, or any kind of approach could be done online and provided to the students, so they could do it to improve their digital integration with the university digital presence, and I think that will be very beneficial to them.
Sure, Leo. Thank you very much, Leo. Will make note of this, and obviously we'll do a follow-up talk to you as well on this. And that if you can help us, obviously in this, that would be really great as well. Thank you very much for your input on this. Anyone from the class, any student want to comment anything? Henrietta, Sharia, Becky, any student wants to say like how do you think they feel this can help them into have a better career and progression as well? If anyone, most welcome. Or any tutor wants to say anything, yeah.
Comment. Any comment about this? Yeah, yeah. You have something to say? You can say, yeah.
Because when we write the official things, we can use this. Right? Yeah, it's a guidance for us. It's a good guidance.
Okay. Thank you very much for this. Thank you so much. I think that's to be very honest, like almost that's what we want to achieve. Now you can see on the screen, we have a QR code. This is actually about your feedback because that helps us to have the next thing in the planning as well. So we would recommend you if you can scan from your phone, and obviously there will be a small short form to you for the feedback as well. That would really help as well. Yukeshwari, I can see you are also here joining from the team. What is usually you want to tell us? What is your experience in terms of this writing emails? Do you think it's really important to consider all these facts, isn't it?
Hi, everyone. I think, yes, writing a really concise email and making sure that the information that we are conveying to the student is clear and that they can also understand it properly. I think this is really important. And yeah, so I think we need to make sure that the students have the right skills so that when tomorrow they're going to be in the work environment, they are able to be really good and adapt to any sort of emails that they receive. So I think this is really helpful.
Okay. Thank you, Keshwari. Sorry, I picked up your name, but I saw you were there. So yeah.
No worries. Thank you.
No, thank you so much. I think that's from our side. If anyone wants to say anything, otherwise, I think this we will be concluding this workshop. And I really appreciate your time. Some of you have taken. And if you please have any further inquiries, any questions, you can always write it to us, to our employability team, which is WCE at placement and WCE at vic.ac.uk as well. But we will be contacting you if you have this form. I think there are some questions related to that as well. Manthan, is it okay? We can conclude.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Yes, sir, that's
thank you.
fine. Perfectly fine.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Everything is submitted
Thank you,
definitely.
guys. Have a
Thank you very
wonderful
much,
day.
guys.
Take care.
Have a good day, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay, thank you. Bye.
Thank you, everyone.